and with just an outrage and of the situation in the Gambia. It's not that it is not the case that I woke up and the outrage happened, but it's been building up due to observing a lot of stuff happening in the country, literally seeing the evidence of the collapse of that country. And it seems the opposition is just neglecting the leadership required to salvage the country. And the other part of it, looking at the politics of what's going on, it seems our opposition are not equipped. And it seems that it's all about who they can put in position as a leader, but not actually to materialize that change. That change which should start from making sure we have the credible elections and remove. But again, that's just the beginning of the change. The change is what we're going to implement to make that happen. Seen a lot of activities on social media, and most of the activities have become, especially from people subscribing to political parties, it's about rivalry of their political party, especially the recent rivalry between UDP and the Talib movement. And since the sense of urgency, the sense of focus, it's completely out of the way. Either political parties are dormant, and we have so much of movements or parties or individuals popping up without issues really being addressed. And in this scenario, with all the evidence we have seen in the country of its gradual collapse, for that matter, if it's not salvaged. And I am not talking from position of what I saw or witnessed on social media. I am very well connected to issues in the Gambia. Be it from Banjul to Koina, I am connected to these things. Because I'm talking to political actors, non-political actors, bureaucrats, and every walk of life in the country. I am engaged in charities, I'm engaged in a lot of stuff. And I dedicate myself in watching this. And it's not only that. I have an expertise in this area to find out and know what's going on. I have the experience and I have the expertise. This is why when I come out for a purpose. When I sit on this platform, I don't sit on this platform as a journalist. I know now journalists will have a different meaning nowadays. But my main heart is as an activist. And actually, let me add, as a position of leadership, we are almost 6 decades of being a Gambian. Almost 6 decades. The part of the population that is older than us are not many anymore. We have crossed that line that we would be called pa or old pa or whatever right now in the Gambia. Thank God for our genes and the condition we live in. I'll do this brief, but inshallah next week I'll do a comprehensive on Askabi Radio in Wolof, but I'll come on Facebook Live for the benefit of other listeners that will not understand Wolof. To look at issues totally, the geopolitics, and where our country is heading to. But as I said, I'm coming out today for a brief, just to get some of these things off my chest in order to be able to enjoy my evening. The failure of governance in that country can be measured in many ways. But those that feel it know it, as we said. And if we say those that feel it, it's not only people on the ground. Because those people on the ground are connected to us. They are our families. They are our neighbors, they are our families. What they feel, we do feel. Physically, we might be out of the jurisdiction of the Gambia, but everything else we are connected to what is happening in the Gambia. We know the suffering, we know about everything, and we feel the pain. Not only know it, we feel the pain as they do. We are not competing. Some might say, oh, if you are not in someone's, look, we are in there. We know this, we taking up the stress and everything. We are not saying we are equal in it, but we feel it and we know it. In any measure you do. It's the healthcare, basic, essential living condition, dignity. People are suffering also. The lack of hope, we can be measured in the back way and all the stuff. Other things people are desperately doing in that country just to survive, which lead them to indignity, which lead some of them into crime. It's no excuse. But the evidence we have to explain why these things are just, out there in the open. And the audit reports are one of those. The Janney Commission is one of those. The petroleum inquiries, George Russian Petroleum, are one of those. But the evidence mainly on people who are in charge or close or who are political hacks, we have seen the transformation of their lives to become multimillionaire in the small Gambia, where we call ourselves poor, which is a lie, which is a fabrication. The evidence we have seen on the audit reports, and that might be in fact 60% of it, because of the president have stopped access to the GRA to tell us actually how much we do collect in taxes, or even the need for not even collect some of these taxes, because overtaxation, it's not a good thing. But they are overtaxing us to become billionaires. There are audit reports for many other areas that have been stopped. That company led by the president's, cousins, or you call them, Mohammed Njai, that is involved with the president's nephew, Amadou Sane, the former GPMB, now doing GCA. There are so many. We are not poor. How can we stay to see? What really made me outraged to come out, it's the article from Watson, Gambia. As I said, I never planned to come out today, but I have to. The article from Watson, Gambia, pleading for people to put money together again. With all the money, I am not blaming Watson, Gambia, and in fact, I am, congratulating for, encouraging for all what they do. But we cannot continue to take responsibility of government when we know we have the resources and everything. Talking about water in schools, water basics, sanitation in schools. Almost every aspect of development now, it's back onto us. Gambians, not from our tax money, not from it, but the little we have for our families now, it's been requested. It's been going on for a long time. People talk about donor fatigue. But again, this is always my position here. The generosity of Gambians. All this donor fatigue people talk about globally. If it comes to Gambia, it's easy to get to emotions for us to do something that we can even afford. And most of donations are done by Gambians and friends of Gambia. Gambians and friends of Gambia. Why should this be the case? When the next post you will see is the post from Nyang Jai, showing all those powerful vehicles, with the video from Boubacar Sise, Bugasereo, showing the properties. Barrow building a $5 million property, $5 million. We wonder where it comes from. No. And these are only properties built in the Gambia. This is just one of the properties that he's building in the Gambia. I cannot talk about so many and properties being bought from different places. Almost everything in the country is mortgaged or sold off, and corruption. That's even. But what's the opposition doing? In complete disarray. In complete disarray. And I am saying this. Why am I saying that? It seems the opposition don't understand what's going on. And if one says that it might be seen as undermining the opposition, or some will even go to the extent saying, oh, he's insulting the opposition or whatever. I am harsh to the opposition in their face. Because I understand the campaign we are in. We cannot come out and say certain things in the open, but we can say more even to us together. When we have our phones, when we meet and everything. When we are consulted to ask our view, or when we raise something and they have their doubts or whatever, we express our views. And that is in every major opposition or a major movement. We have contact with them. We can say everything here. But it comes to time, in fact, we have to move it a little bit more. I have seen political parties trying to shore up their base, which is right. Shore up their base, which is right. Feeling that your base is being assaulted. I have seen oppositions or movements trying to come up, but doing everything wrong. It's not what you say, it's what you do. It's easy to get all these theories, especially in the day and age of technology. Get all these theories, write all these mission statements and everything, because most of the people that write these things, they don't even know what they're writing about. They pick it up from different campaigns around the world. That's not it. You have to understand the history of the politics of Gambia. You have to understand the people of the Gambia. You have to understand how campaigns are really run. You have to be able to make comparisons and understand the reality of the one you are dealing with. There are no two campaigns, they are the same. Campaigns can be very similar in different countries, different continents. Very similar. But you should be able to tailor-make for what you are facing. It seems we are losing that, or we didn't have it, we didn't possess it. It seems we are underestimating the state we are living in. It seems as we are underrating what Barrow is doing. As I said, I'm talking from experience and background. I have worked in campaigns in the United Kingdom here, part of consultancies. Be the Brexit, be the New Labour Project, be the liberal revival of the Liberal Democrat, to revive the strategy that revived the Liberal Democrat from 7 members of Parliament to going into government with the Conservative. We work with institutions that drafted those policies, strategies. In the Birmingham here, working with a conservative mayor to be voted twice, who it was a gay conservative mayor, even winning votes in Muslims areas. And it's that. But tell you what, from the same background experience, I triggered to be forcibly dismissed from the Gambia Army, 1992, coming back from Liberia, knowing what I knew. I did not want to be part of it. And I knew that it was imminent. Anytime the PPP was going to overthrow themselves. Anytime. Try to trigger a whistleblowing I refuse to serve. Just to have the opportunity to be court-martialed so that I can whistleblow. They refuse. They let me go. But we knew it was imminent. I didn't want to be part of it, for obvious reasons. Because at that time, I have matured more to understand that if you can't, I was at a level, very young, but at a level that if I cannot have control or can determine the outcomes, I am not going to be part of that. That's why still I am where I am, in this position of being an independent and try my best to influence. Months before it happened, we knew. Yes, actually, but months, weeks. If the PPP said they did not know, because they were the one that overthrew themselves. But that's for another day. Let me come to the audit reports. When I woke up, I got a lot of messages. Again, from some people I don't even know. Because when I came out and did a comprehensive, and I still stand by my word, that if the Auditor General, I'm not going to call him the ex-Auditor General, Modou Cissé, if Modou Cissé is not careful, he will not witness. This is how serious issues are. And I hope and wish that he take it that serious. This is the government we're dealing with. When I came out to explain, almost word for word, what I said, what I reported, this is what have been tendered at this Supreme Court. Almost word for word. The narrative, exactly what I said. In fact, at some details I gave names that are not even in the, obviously it's something going to this, something going to the Supreme Court. And I can tell you one thing. I have evidence in my hand that have proven the level Barrow have gone. And we are watching that evidence. We are watching the level to influence for this case not to go to the Supreme Court. And Chief Justice Asen Diallo is put on watch. If they collapse this case, if any other, the obvious verdict of this case is no. It should be obvious to us. It's not complicated. If it fails, we'll bring it out to show the level of corruption even in our judiciary. There's a time for everything. When I reported the deliberation at State House, exactly what they went to, how they went about it, Some of those people that doubted me have inboxed me because they don't know. I have never come out here. I have never come out here and raised an alarm and become a false alarm. The drug cartel, when I started talking about drug cartel, people have not seen it. 3 months before I said it, after 3 months, what happened? 3 tons of cocaine. And it went on. When I talk about the Russian petroleum scandal, people thought I was mad. But we all know now. To the level they have to bear it because of Barrow involvement, the First Lady involvement, the Barrow clan involvement. When I talk about the Gum Petroleum, I started talking about Gum Petroleum, the scandal eventually coming up. When Barrow visited Gum Petroleum in May, guess what? November, the same year, 2021, October 2021, the scandal blew. I talk about the planned Dubai trip, which they had to cancel. And every other part, the campaign we have launched here. We don't come out here to flex degrees, bachelors, or these things, no. Because what we do is from passion, from being patriotic. We could have been trading our expertise in other areas. But let me tell you, we'll get to that bit. The opposition bit, because, and this is not new. During the struggle, we said it. I have my living witnesses within the UDP itself. During the struggle, warned them against it was 2015, November, when UDP had their Congress in Basel, 2015. This is one when Amadou Sane was incarcerated at Manzil, and Barrow was appointed treasurer because he was the deputy treasurer. Still nobody know about him. They came down to Westfield. People who were in the struggle will remember this incident. Magically, at that time, UDP from Tabokoto, it's just like something erupted. People started to join their convoy towards pipeline, probably to Davos compound. They came to Talinding, it just hell broke loose, their convoy, as if it was jinns calling people to join their convoy. We were watching that, from videos being sent. The time they got to Westfield, I was at work. I jumped on Fascist Network to join the analysis of what was happening. When they were at Westfield, this was after the 30th December incident. Social media profile of General Savage change, and we saw General Savage with full these things, and just posted that. When I saw that, I laughed. I said, yes, Jammeh have just shown his weakness. At Westfield, the UDP and people, let's say there's people in the crowd, started to, this is very rare then, started to say Tony Daba, and saying anything. The police came to stop them from PIU. They moved on. And we can hear from the crowd saying that State House, State House, State House. And definitely, obviously, they didn't go to the State House. But they forced, the police could not stop the convoy. They went through Bakau and they went through Fajara and deposited their leader and stayed there for almost that night. I had my observations. I invited people I knew to be UDP and very active, young Slavo, it's young Slavo. If I can remember Bamamas, but Suntu Ture for that matter, and Ibrahim Silla, who was in Ghana. I spoke to them that if this happens again, and UDP did not, and take the precautions, the entire UDP leadership will go. And I said, even from now, if anything, UDP should be very careful. If not, their entire leadership will go. Some may have seen the threat. We discussed it and all that stuff I don't want to get to. But I can tell you, after that day, I have my receipts. I'll just show this. The reason I'm saying this is just to emphasize the urgency. What am I reading here? It's from Ibrahim Silla, now minister. It's not private. He didn't send it to me private. It's something he posted on Facebook. He didn't know me then. I came out and did an analysis of what have transpired. I advised the UDP through the program, and Ibrahim Silla had what I have said, and this is what Ibrahim Silla wrote. And Ibrahim Silla said this. This was 6 April 2016. He said, wow, Ben Suwareh, that was a good summons. Hey, I have just finished listening to Ben Suwareh on Fatu Radio, but the program was cut short because Fatu Camara was to come on air, on air live. But I hope it could be uploaded on SoundCloud for those who have not listened to it. For a long time, I have not had such an impactful analysis on defying a military or quasi-military style government. It was a very powerful analysis of what happened on Monday when UDP was coming from its Congress and was Congress, and what should have been done to sustain such a defiance. He continued. The analysis also touched on how to sustain defiance to the type of regime in a hyper situation we have found ourselves in. Ben analysis is very much, neatly tied in the unity of purpose, but also what we should do to disallow a breathing space for dictatorship. This was a most listened analysis to chart at least help us to come up with a definitive strategy to collectively and frontally deal with this brutal regime. I applaud you, Ben, for this powerful analysis. Folks, let's listen to those who know what they are talking about, rather than those who only castigate and imbecile the determined efforts of the downtrodden people of the Gambia. This is what Ibrahim Silla wrote. Now, we all witnessed what happened next. When the solo sending issue happened, behind the scenes, we talked about it on one, about certain things that was going to happen, and they happened. To the extent of how they got to, to what they did to the UDP. This is just to emphasize the urgency of that. We know what we're talking about. We're not second guessing. We are not new in politics. We are born in politics. But again, we have an expertise. The Barrow clan, I'll just point to this. I have seen my brother Dauda Sisi Moriba made attack. He said the first lady coming out with his son to events, the president going to events with his son. The only thing Moriba failed to point out is Amadou Sane's position. Njaga have eloped, apparently abandoned the ship and moved to Sweden after scamming his uncle. This is Njaga Sane, the nephew of Barrow. The role Amadou Sane, President Barrow's nephew, is playing. And if you all remember the draft constitution Barrow wanted, that he can resign any day, and the person he chooses in the succession line can take over and complete the term. We are seeing how government countries, when people come as civilian governments and stay for decades or come to military and stay. We managed to stop Jammeh because of our collective. If we have crossed that elections, 2016, and we are in our 2016 moment right now, if Barrow crosses these elections, the sad part is, in the case of Jammeh, he would still have control and continue. But in the case of Barrow, he will not have control. And we'll come to that. It's very evident. We have seen when to point that dictators start to, or governments like Barrow's, start to bring their family around, be very scared. We have been seeing it in Trump. When Trump started to bring his family around, straight away, his first term, his second term. But not only that, bringing incompetent people around. We are seeing it in Trump. The damage America is at right now. America is at its weakest in all aspects, economic and everything else, advancement, everything else. And the so-called great nation of America, if it can happen to great nation of America, complete in disarray because of the selfish interest of a small percentage. This is what we are witnessing right now. It's going to get worse. The Barrow dynasty, I call it the Barrow dynasty, have accumulated wealth within a short period of 8 years, more than Jammeh have accumulated in the 22 years. Let me reframe that. What is known of what Jammeh have accumulated in 22 years. I am doing that caveat because there are unknowns. If you just talk about the knowns of Barrow and knowns of Jammeh, comparatively, Barrow have outdone Jammeh in 8 years. Now, because of incompetence and fear, he cannot determine his successor from the people around him. You have to remember, for someone to succeed you, if you are not a Democrat, it's a very difficult thing to do. If you are a Democrat, it shouldn't be. But we have even seen Jawara struggle with that. That's why I said, that is why it ended up PPP overthrowing themselves. Using Jammeh as a mechanism, thinking that Jammeh was ill-educated and a fool. This is what happens. But Jawara was not scared of leaving power that he was going to be prosecuted for corruption or human rights abuses. No. He would have been celebrated, and that would have progressed our nation, regardless who he passed on. Bibi Dabo or any other person he groomed to, because people thought he was grooming Bibi Dabo for that. But again, because when at that time the level of corruption in the Jawara government, and if I say corruption, not only the monetary term, but others, and the divisive politics within the PPP itself, of the tribal and others, regional and others. Yes, regional. There was a Basse this thing, there was a Banjun this thing, there was a, other Kianka this thing, and so on. Not only tribe, regional. What did it end up? Jawara cannot arrange a succession. And eventually, they have to do it unto themselves. With this situation arising now, with Barrow, he tried, he looked at Yankuba Dawo, JRA, Ahmad Ba and others, Musa Drame and others said, hell no. Closetly he's closer to UDP. And if he gets in, he will do to you what you did to UDP. He will consolidate with the UDP and they will come for us. This was the only reason. The deal was nearly tied down. Nearly tied down. Now we are not going into details. We know what is behind the scene now. The Yankuba Dabo project is still going on. We know that, but it's for another day. We now see the APRC trying to revive themselves as far back and trying to get their leverage ready because they know what's going on. They know what's going on. The infighting is so huge for secession. But does this opposition see that? No. They are busy within themselves. UDP is still dealing with internal struggles, which I cannot understand why a political party should struggle with that. Yes, I know, on the ground they are shutting down their base, which is fine. But how do you move over that? When this is going to stop? And people will tell you, oh, don't bother what has happened on social. It's not true. Then you don't understand the power of social media. Social media is living in people's heads, leaders' heads. Leaders' heads. If they tell you to disregard social media, they're just saying it. They live on social media. Social media is living on their heads. I'm not saying what goes on social media, I can tell you, is a narrative that is on the ground. They have to discourse it all the time. Rather than use it progressively to change a narrative and move on, no. Barrow is at a point, the wealth and everything, we have seen the evidence, part of the evidence, I say part of the evidence on audit reports and evidence on the properties they have here and there, the UK and almost everywhere. And you think Barrow would just walk away and go and retire at Fajara and Makamakunda? How did Paul Biya become a 100-year president? Museveni and others might come from military background. Why do you think they're still holding on? Why do you think they have their family dynasty within the system? The cousins, go and look at how many cousins and these things Barrow have in government right now. More than Yahya Jammeh did in 22 years. The GIA managing director, the deputy managing director, ministers, let's go on. And I know people will concentrate in surnames or tribe or his family, the fullest. No, he have family in Wolofs, he have family in Mandinka, more so in Fuller and Mandinkas. Then it's not about tribe. It's about nepotism. It's about a system. They know the crime they have committed. And this is why it's forcing them to commit human rights abuses. This is why they took over, taking over the justice system, and we are watching on Asan Jallow on this Auditor General case. Every respect will be drawn out, regardless of our family relationship or anything else. And we're going to come out straight onto the judiciary. Enough is enough. They cannot do that and go to bed and sleep when the Gambians are continuing suffering. Lesson learned from Senegal. Just a pointer. We all see the evidence why Macky Sall, if we cannot learn from that, try to entrench himself to the extent of ordering arms. When it first happened, the youths and Pastif came out in defense of their leader, to the extent that if that night Macky did not come out for the, if you understand the internal security mechanism in Senegal, the gendarmerie, the police, but you understand again what the role of the armed forces, because it is part of their constitution in Senegal, clearly marked when the army can assume, or the armed forces or security thing can assume power. To the point of the infantry moving from Kaolack, that's where because they zonalize their security. They zonalize their security. The seat of power, Dakar, is internal security zonalized. To the entrance on Dakar Mbao, you have the mechanized gendarmerie forces. You have satellites positioned from Ngor, an observation point from the Navy, from the CN and so on. You have the commandos, special forces in chairs, so on. You have the infantry in these things, and other commando 72 battalions in Casamas, and other operations in Futa and so on. The time they started to change that, Macky had to come up. But what did he do next? He went after and poached these generals, because the generals would not send them to embassies, got his people to come into position. And if you understand the discipline, the institutional discipline of Senegal, but that was even been dismantled, appointing generals that will allow Macky to form a militia, to order arms, not from through the defense ministry, not through anything, but from the forestry of millions of dollars, sophisticated war weaponry, vehicles, even wide vehicles. And guess what? The gendarmes police protected this militia to go around to quell the uprising, shooting them in the streets. Why do you think so? But again, because as I said again, what we witness and what we see on the ground, that's all we know of Pasteur. This, I can tell you, Pasteur was sophisticated enough. There was so much behind the scenes in the international orders. And let me just point to this. The day the American ambassador invited Pasteur openly in a restaurant and sat, that was sending a message. People that understand would know that's it. This is what led Macky to leave power. Try to now to amend, to limit the damage. But he knew the crime he have committed. He did not spend that afternoon in Senegal. If he did not even properly hand over, he looked out. And now he's a certified criminal. Don't we learn from this? If we let Barrow get in there. But the point in Gambia is, Barrow is saying it as we are not capable in the opposition. We are not capable, we don't have the opposition leaders capable of walking these things. That's why he's taking his chances. And they have a strategy. And they're going to unleash it later down. Now they're going to deal with the civil society and others. And mostly will be coming in bribery. They will be bribing the opposition. They will be, they will sponsor, they will do a lot of stuff in order to control. Not to even get to the chance of us determining that he have to live. Then if you believe because someone is advocating their loyalty to your leader and you believe that person is loyal, this, look, intelligence works in many ways. That's why up to today, certain people would never talk anything about Jammeh because Jammeh have them, got them where he wants them. You think Jammeh was doing it alone? You think people of Fonyo were the one doing it for Jammeh? It was all of us. From Badibu, Kiam, Nyomi, Basse, Fonyi, Banjul, Serakuna, everywhere. All of us. Fula, Jola, Sarahule, Manjago, all of us. It's a criminal syndicate. It's not about tribe specifically, but tribe is used as a mechanism and very effective against us. Go around Jammeh, go around Barrow, they are all around him. All tribes are around him. But it's what mutually they have in common. This is why we have to understand the threat coming to us. We have to work together. The opposition have to. In order to have an orderly change, we have a meaningful change. Let me emphasize this, change will come. Whether we influence it to be the outcome that we want, or the factors will influence it to be something else we might not want. Lessons from Madagascar. And if I say lessons from Madagascar, people will jump on the, the Genesis came up on this. As I always said, mainly what we see on television is not, that's probably 25% what have happened. Most of the things that happen, even that what led to, is completely different thing. I said this before, I explained this in during 2015-16, when people are talking about, after the calamity living, people are talking about Arab Spring, why Gambians can't do this, why Gambian can't do that. Toward the Arab Spring, the Arabs just get up and have an Arab Spring. Or few leaders just get up and do this. Let me point to something first, before I talk about the Genesis. Do you know how many leaders within, I say leaders, different leaders in Madagascar, sponsored by Russians? Do you know? There was one election, they have 17 candidates, all sponsored by Russia. Russian intelligence oligarchs. And the French are out there. The Chinese are out there. Because of what? Go and look at the map. That's why I say we have to understand the geostrategic position of countries. Go and look at the map, where they are. What does that mean? If you have the choke point, it's a choke point. Just as you have the different choke points, this is down there on the south. France want to, determine the government. Russia want to determine the government. America want to determine the government. China want to determine the government. The English want to determine the government. This is obvious. Now, the reality on the ground is, yes, there are internal struggles. Water, electric, this is why the youth came out. But there are so many things to come out. This is why we have to understand our leaders. These are the things we have to take into consideration. Not because our politics is just this. No. There's so much of other things. We have to be very careful if we want to determine politically how we listen. This is what Pastif was good at. And you know, when an effective opposition tells you a government that will be effective, if you wait, I know people are just following these different narratives. They are not taking time to look at properly. The strategic positioning of Senegal now on controlling a narrative, very sophisticated, be the American, Russians, and everything else are keep at bay, Chinese and every these things, and they are keeping a part that benefits them. They put the IMF at bay, everything else now control. They are funding, they're looking at the future with all the stuff. They are dealing with the internal struggle, the agricultural transformation. What are we doing? Look at the person who lead our agriculture department, ministry, compared to Senegal. Look at the person who led their industrial development ministry, compared to what we have. We don't even have one now, and we want to be a viable nation. We'll get to that next week. But what I'm saying here is Madagascar. It is not the first time, it's the second time. We are not calling for that. I know when emotions kick up, Gambia say, that's not an outcome that should be desired. But we have to be realistic. This is why we keep on telling the government. If the opposition is not organized, don't think that Gambia, it cannot happen. And this is why Barrow is recruiting so much of immigrations, promotion of immigrations. All the promotion of immigrations is one thing. That's why there's no security sector reform or anything. But I tell you one thing right now. The Inspector General of Police, Toure, he's not a happy person. Because he realized the task that Barrow have given him. He realized the task the Barrow have given him. Because he was surrounded. What Barrow did is give him his in-law. In-law is just one thing, I can tell you. Divorces do happen and others do happen. Interest, and especially in this case, probabilities and interest. He's out there. He doesn't have control of the police. Strategic appointments are controlled by Barrow's strategies. Now, he is a figurehead as a Mandinka. Jammeh did that many times. How many times people say, oh, but the CDS is a Mandinka or it's a Wolof. Does that mean anything? Go and look at the strategic things. Who heads them? Right now, he's traumatized. He is kind of even avoiding to take responsibilities of certain things. And he knew what was coming to happen. If it happens, he's not stupid to take the flak for Barrow. I can tell you that. But there are people who are so much incompetent or with this is that they will try. This is just why we have to understand the leadership and leadership. And most of the recruits, we know how they recruit them. This is why they did it. This is why they recruit those police officers. Even the older police officers are very apprehensive of not to involve themselves in others. Barrow understands this. They understand this. What it takes is not much. If Gambians come out, be the youths or whatever, come out in numbers and suppress the police, I can tell you the army is not going to come out. If the army comes out, that's the end of the Barrow. Barrow knows that. And I can tell you the economic operational mandate. The best they can do for Barrow is pick him up, take him out, and people will run down the State House. This is something Barrow knows. Now, how to avoid this? Get the opposition busy. Get civil society busy. Use the media. Use tribalism. Use corruption. And control. So that they will never come. Because if they come out, I'm gone. He knows that. Because, again, the reason it happened in Madagascar, there are forces behind it. In the Gambia, there are no forces behind it. It's Gambians. Until I'm not saying there cannot be forces behind it in the Gambia, they can. Because again, as I said, 2016, elections and everything, most Gambians saw what just they saw. It wasn't, as Barrow said, it wasn't easy like that day. There are many things that happen. Right now, I can tell you, Barrow's government is trying. This is why the CDS is in Rwanda, is in Kenya. You know why? They're trying to get Gambian soldiers, peacekeeping, to that Caribbean, Haiti. Because they realize these are the incentive they have to give to the army, to keep them busy, to give them money so that they can be comfortable. Because they know the frustration within the military. This is what we have to understand. You see, even the violence in Senegal, violence in Madagascar, all that can be avoided. And we can bring about change. But we have to have opposition leaders. We have to have civil society leaders who are doing it for the country, not for themselves. And yes, they will be part of that leadership. Until we do that, other things will happen. Let's come to Cameroon. Just a brief pointer again. Why do you think Paul Biya is in there still now? The English side is fighting a civil war or whatever you call it. 2016, interesting, 2016. After the elections, 2017 actually, sorry, no, 2017 February 16th, because about 2 days to independence. A former colleague of mine who still worked for contract business invited me to London. We sat and surprised. A Cameroonian, senior Cameroonian opposition. We had a meeting. You'll be surprised. They looked at what happened in Gambia. And my colleague was asking me, how was this done? Cameroon were trying to learn from us, 2016. How was this done? We started to talk about what is happening in the English side, what's happening with the opposition, what is happening with this. It's a challenge. Gradually getting there, but it's not easy like that day. The opposition leader is coming out listening, but they will have to fight for that to happen. You think Paul Biya is in charge? No. Even Cameroonians are not in charge. We have to understand, this is the level we have to think. With Gambia, it's not difficult as that Cameroon and other countries we're facing. But if we allow it, we're going to be that difficult. And let us stop concentrating on who is the chairman of the ISC, who is the deputy chairman, who is the committee. Look, already, Amadou Sane, Barrow's nephew, is the centerpiece now in the election rigging process. we're working on that election rigging process already with the electoral registration. A lot of other stuff they are working on it. What they did the last time, they're trying to do something different. Because what they did the last time was detected now, can be dealt with, now they're moving on. But where is the opposition working together? No. These are things we should be working together. There's so much we can do, so much intelligence we can have, so much we can do, so much ideas we can share. But we cannot out there to act it. And let me just say this, I just point this. Barrow knows who won the APRC bill. Abdoulaye Sanya have nothing to do with that. He might implicate himself, but Barrow knows the names, the role played by many, 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 many people, because a report was submitted to him. There are living witnesses. There are so many things that bring about change. Not different people coming out with their narrative. Yes, most of part of those narratives are all part of what brings about change. But eventually it's the people that would bring change. And all this part of narrative, people acting, it's all of us. If we start to say that we are going to represent, oh, what can only advance our party to part, look, this is where we are failing. Our challenge right now is of similar to 2016. Barrow have to go. But this time around, not Barrow have to go, whoever. No. We have an opportunity. That's why we always celebrate what Gambians, if I say we, I mean Gambians, did to bring about change 2016. The most important thing was to bring about these freedoms we have today. And we are to maintain these freedoms in order to bring about change. Many actions are not required until the government forces it onto us that will be required. All we need now is organization. And on a final note, as I said, this was going to be brief. I'm over an hour now. I want to touch on, to give an example of the person we're dealing with. I saw a video, a short video, part of the interview CDCC did with Barrow. And this video, Barrow is explaining, okay, I think most of what he said is true. Because now, this is the problem we have. You cannot even tell what Barrow said is true or not, but I can tell you most of what he says is true. But the point is, what is Barrow trying to gain from this? In fact, he has exposed himself, and I think many people did not see what Barrow have exposed, the person he is. Barrow explained about when he was selected, or elected as the UDP flag bearer. The context, many people don't understand the context he was talking about. This was before we have a coalition. This was when he was just elected as a UDP flag bearer. Dr. Aissatou Touré and other people came out with Gamko Trap, technically, Dr. Aissatou Touré with Amiboyan Sissoko, and other people kind of have a gender-based party, or you call it, and for Aissatou Touré as an independent candidate. At this time, obviously, UDP executives were locked up. There was so much uncertainty. And entire Gambia agreed that, as we agreed many years, that only solution would be a coalition government, opposition to take Jammeh out, which people have indicated that's what took Jammeh out. Part of what took Jammeh out. Anyway, let's put it, we have to put force, not on elections. Now, Barrow explained that Aissatou Touré, Amiboyan Sissoko, Ramzi Diab, Adiyam Seka went to meet him to pitch the idea that for UDP to adopt Aissatou Touré or support Aissatou Touré independent candidature to lead the opposition. This is what he explained. which I believe is true. I believe. I don't know whether it's true, but I believe it's true because these are living witness. I know he will say things that even they have leading witness. But one thing, context we have to remember, who are these people? But we talk about Asetufe, we talk about William Sisho, they were together from Gampo Trap and trying to come into politics. Ramsey Diab, I believe she was UDP by then. I'm not sure because she can be anywhere, anytime. He was APRC, but I think he was UDP then. But we know who Ajiyam was. Ajiyam was the leader of the UDP at that time because of Dabo was in prison. And Ajiyam was the lady with Aji, the other Aji, I'm not sure it's Aji Sukai or someone else, and Dembo by force, that actually made Barrow many people said this, and Barrow himself said that. He was even reluctant. These two ladies, and we have seen the evidence during the campaign on everything, and Dembo by force, may his soul rest in peace, imposed on him encouraged him and supported him to become the candidate to lead the UDP. We have that evidence as well. This is politics, no problem with that. If Barrow talk about all this, I have no problem with it. Now, Barrow said the reason he refused. The reason he emphasized that he has to be the leader or the leader have to come from UDP. That bit, it might be true, let's throw it out there. But knowing that Ajiyam role he played to Barrow to be, and Ajiyam Yabo, thank you, Ajiyam Yabo. And for Ajiyam, the role he played for Barrow, and coming, he must be representing the leadership of UDP to pursue it. Because we have evidence, people spoke about it. Thank you. Ramsey Diabo's UDP. That Dabo preferred Aissatou Touré as a candidate. Not only that, they were the leadership within UDP, in fact, did approach others. I think some people said Boris Touré was reluctant. Some people said Madi Jobati was reluctant. They tried to get other people before even Barrow became the leader. And in fact, Ajiyam and others emphasis was that no, they have to have a leader from. This was the narrative. Now, what point was Barrow trying to push? You see, Barrow is mingling. The time he was, because this was recorded into UDP internal affairs. He is trying to push. This is why Team Talib and UDP have to be very careful. They have to be very careful. If they care about this country, if they care about bring about change, they should be seeing themselves as partners, as previous allies or whatever it is. But they should be very careful. Let Barrow not utilize this opportunity to stay in power. This is the message he was trying to send. Now, guess this. Barrow himself, did he not resign from UDP to become independent? He resigned from UDP in order for a coalition to happen. It was not his idea. It was Halifa Salah's idea. Again, I am not going to say what even led to that. If Dembo was still a living witness, I would have said something. But he's not a living witness, let's just leave it to that. But some people that know now. Honorable Halifa said it, that Dembo went to him and said to him, we need to have a coalition. Now, we coming to you, take the lead. And Honorable Khalifa said that he asked them to go and consult the other parties and bring them together. This is how they this thing. But what led Dembo to go to Khalifa, Khalifa did not say that. Probably he didn't know. But if Dembo was here, Dembo would be the witness of what led him to go to Khalifa. That's why I said there's a lot of things that Gambians would do behind the scenes. For Dembo, for that afternoon, Dembo was not even feeling well. But there was something that made him, and why other decisions were taken. Barrow was not going to win. Nobody was going to win. Gambia was going to win. Now, for Dr. Toure and Aji Yam and others to approach him was not a bad idea. In fact, that they are vindicated. That we cannot have a single, we need an independent candidate. This is what they were saying. We need an independent candidate to unify the political parties. I'll give you another example. The reason Oye Jallow, may his soul rest in peace, have a leverage. Leverage of Oye Jallow was not based that PPP was functional political party. We all know PPP was not functional political party at that time. It was just in registration. But because of the leverage he has was his character and what people know of him, his political defiance and everything else. But his added leverage was, I don't want to be a candidate. I don't want to be a candidate. Now, that gave him a leverage to be seen as a unifier. Hence he's not, he have no conflict of interest. In whatever he is in, he can bring people together. Now, this is again the position I'm trying to emphasize, that Dr. Toure, disappointingly, we dodged that blood too, but Barrow is not better blood, but we don't know what would have happened. But this is what happens in politics. This is not my concern here. This is what happened in politics, but I say they are vindicated because Barrow himself have to resign to be a leader. My point is, one there is about the opposition to be very careful what Barrow was doing there. What I am enraged about is about bringing out the discussion, private discussion he had with Ajimai Noor, the first wife of Honorable Lawyer Dabo. Ajimai Noor, for a leader to have a private conversation. Ajiyam was not speaking as an executive member of UDP. Ajimai was not speaking as a politician. Ajiyam was speaking as the wife of a leader. We can represent. But one thing is, to tell you who Barrow is, this was a moment of someone's strength, and some people might perceive it as a weakness. Ajiyam's a mother who have a loving husband, who have all this relationship. And if you dare to consider that Ajiyam did not choose to marry a politician, Ajiyam married an aspiring, a lawyer, or probably I don't know when they got married, but he married a young man who was a lawyer, and dedicated and sacrificed for that family. And not only that family, even that Edward Singate had to show his evilness by explaining the relationship that Ajiyam had in that community. People that knew Ajiyam in the institutions he works at, knew the support she gave to country, people around her. You will never, Ajimai Noor, Lawyer Dabo's wife, you never hear anything from wherever they lived in Bakau. People tell them. This is before Dabo even think of this. This is before 1994. it's a full house of diverse, but mostly people from the provinces to support the husband on that. This husband's family. That people, I know of, we live in the same locality. I can tell you there was a time people cannot tell you who was Lawyer Dabo's own child. They cannot tell you because the way Ajiam was with the families. Dedicate the family, dedicate in the institutions, in society, upon his household. As Edward said, they used to jump over to come and have food to eat and go. If we just take a moment, we don't know Ajimaindu's age, we don't know. But let's say she's 70. Now, imagine not the struggle from 1982, from 81 I know of. Because from 1981, Ajimaindu was involved in a struggle, supporting his husband, who was standing up for many people incarcerated because of the mix-up that happened. And I know that most people think of, oh, the rebels. No. Bakau school was filled. Depot was full by people just being pointed finger. And most of these people came out of those detention centers in Bakau school and in Depot and other 8 locations because of Ajimai's husband. It's not about husband. Stood and went through the primary things and got them exonerated from being in a condition that probably they have said something or they have stood for something. But they were not rebels, they didn't hold weapons. But they were there. Some people came out of those detentions and died because of shame. In those days, it was a shame to be arrested. But Ajimaindur was in that struggle. The compound they lived in, you could up to midnight, from 81 around that time, every minute, people were going in and out, people were queuing, just as you think people are going to Marabou's. We were young, we see that. This woman was holding that together. Now, from 1994 to now, how many years? Imagine if she's 70. Now, 30 years out of 70. You see how young she was? But you know how so young she was. She was in a struggle. The old woman was in a struggle that she did not choose to be. She was not an elected officer. She never seek for elected office. She never even, technically, not even these things, but she stood by her husband as a loving wife, a loving mother. And to support that husband and that movement or that political party to be part of that struggle, able to live. If she was not behind Lawyer Dabo would not have been here today. All of you can, anybody can come out there to say the support they did to Lawyer Dabo, protection they give to Lawyer Dabo. But I can tell you, no one will come there. No one will come near Ajimaindu. And it's easy to know that fact. If you have a loving relationship, if you have a wife, mother or whatever, a woman in your life, you know those quiet moments when everything is at the dead of night, when you have fear, doubts and everything. This is not our mothers, it's not our fathers, it's not our friends, it's not our party militants who will be there with us. It's not our marabu or mentor or anybody. It's our wife. Ajimaindu was there in those moments. And it's safe to say that in those moments, probably if she had put her foot down and said to the husband, enough is enough. You have to put my family or our family. You have to get out of this. It's not 5, it's not 10, it's not 15. There's no light. This is not only being in opposition. This is being in a dictatorship. She's doing all that, keeping everything together. Barrow, being a member of UDP, would know this more than anybody else. Her house have never had privacy, especially since 1994, after 1994. Never had privacy. People in, people out, people in, people out. The husband is incarcerated, the entire party is incarcerated. If that person speaks to you in private and demanded something, that is to be kept private. She did not impose it on you. She did not go out to impose it on you. She did not go on a political rally to impose it on you. If that was the case, alas, say what you want. But as a wife, a mother who have struggled all these years, confide and say, Barrow, give chance to my to an independent a woman to lead us. This would make this happen. The fact is, Barrow did not win as a coalition this thing because of he was popular. It's not because he was charming. It was just not charismatic. Nothing. In fact, we just revert to say it was only defined by Allah. But candidature in any sense, anybody could have if we had a coalition lead us. To coalition lead us. This is the sort of person we have as a president. This is the person we have as a president. This is, I want people to think about this deeply. What else is going in the head of that man, Barrow? If he can just come out and remind the political people he dealt with and what he said about them. That's politics and they can deal with that. But probably even knowing that the woman would not come out and respond. What is true or what is not true. That's not right. That's why we need change. But this is not lesson for Barrow. This is a lesson for all of us. We have a moment now for us to learn about all this that transpired during this course. And let's stop this bickering that we are going against each other, especially between UDP and the Talib guys. Stop it. It's not helping you. It's not especially what is coming on social media. And I tell you, social media have influence. Or what people from this, no, concentrate on doing what you do. Let us try to work together. Eventually, we need a coalition to take Barrow out. And this is why I'm pointing to Cameroon. You think the opposition will they will have to. Because this is, just as I give example about in Macky Sall, the opposition would have to. In this case, Pastef managed to build a movement. And I tell you that Pastef movement is not overnight. It wasn't overnight. And not only credit to Pastef, but credit to the change they have. Gambia would have to get to many form of change in order to have something like Pastef. Because that's the environment that we created. The people to get used to change, people to understand change, people to able to influence change or to be part of the influence of change. And let me just try to end this with a good note. Two things I observe. I've been observing this week. And again, this is why I'm saying this, to show credit so that we have what it takes. We have the resources. We had these billions in the audit reports. That's why I have to apologize the other day. I was just saying millions, millions, millions. But actually we are in billions of looting. Now, think about it. This scenario that Wolof said in Wolof. ñu ne soo rombee mag bu jonkoon day xeeñ la su jógee di nga fa fekk day bu mag. This is the scenario of this Barrow. We are just having the whiff of corruption. The day we uproot Barrow, that we find out. Just as Macky Sall, the day they uproot him, that they find out. What are the two things I observe? And this is huge. I've been watching the Gunjur Nawetan. And credit to Gunjur Online and whoever organized the Gunjur Nawetan and everything else. The amount of social capital Gambia have, amount of social capital, how easy it is to build that social cohesion, and without social cohesion, we cannot believe in peace, and we cannot. And again, next week, inshallah, if we can deliberate on this, we talk about the politics or issues. Understand how important it is to have that social cohesion. God knows, I wish I had the money. The investment, I have seen social groups, different social groups, which I identify, mostly I identify Jolas and Mandinka groups, because I've not watched everything. I'm just watching clips that are coming to Facebook feeds. But to the extent they'll go to where, the cultural, where the performance, the energy, the ambience they create in the Nawetan, it's not only about football. I've not watched the football. But I was just watching the ambience and this display. Who are the people that thought about this and put it together? Remember recently, there were tensions between Dar Salami, still on, Dar Salami Gunjur. But if you come to the football field, you won't see that tension. And you know that tension between Dar Salami and Gunjur did have some sort of a, because of, not that that's what about, no. Because the community, coexisted, but from different backgrounds. But if you watch this performance, probably there are other even cultural performance I have not seen. This is refreshing, showing at the community level, at the ground level, what people are doing, volunteering to do this, committees coming together to do a football Nawetan, not only the football Nawetan, but to bring this cultural harmony, to build together for our social capital. It's just wonderful. What is the youth sports doing? We know. We saw the audit reports. We saw without a stadium, without this. That's not the case. What is the cultural minister doing? The social capitals. What the cultural minister doing in that? What support do they have? I wish they have find a way to even support them to, keep those groups, social groups going. We need them. We need those cultural groups going, especially in those environments that tensions are rising. The other bit I've been watching, I came across is Tankular, KM Tankular. There's someone, I don't know who it is or who they are. They've been capturing Tankular. That content is supported, because I don't want to say anything negative, but we know that if they are supported, what change, what impact would it have in our tourism? But not even tourism. For our social capital, for us, Gambians. What? Many Gambians don't even know where Tankular was, or is still. They don't know about a lot of stuff. I read a piece by Okudrami saying that his ancestors are from Tankula. And most people would see Okudrami as Banjulian as it is. Yes, he's Banjulian as it is. But he's just as many Banjulians. They are made of us. This diffuses this notion of Banjulians, Bashirians, Gambians. Gambia is us. These are things that a government would have been promoting. But you have one of the most corrupt ministers from the Russian petroleum scandal, because of he worked part of to help Barrow loot our taxes and open a cartel of petroleum. Now he's the head of the tourism and this. A civil engineer for that matter, who have expertise, who could have done better somewhere else, but he's corrupt absolute. Abla Job, he's useless. Look at all those things. Let me give you an example. If you go and look at Senegal right now about tourism, these are the content. It's not about waiting for Gambia experience and others. They have dedicated. I've seen Gambia Tourism Board before, getting some of our TikTokers. Okay, we have to take them somewhere. No, it takes more than that. It takes more than that. How do you support the TikTokers to have able to? Some people are just TikTokers. They don't have the experience. They don't have the knowledge. It takes a lot more. These are things we should develop. Recently, I was reading the stats on tourism in Senegal. The internal, even Senegalese now traveling within. And if you remember, in the late 80s, there was a campaign by the youth government, in fact, to promote internal tourism. This is when Youssou N'Dour had that song as the part of the anthem. Bitim rew, nekk sa rew, Mbour am na noppalukaay, Casamance am na noppalukaay, and so on. But now it's realistically been put in. And that have just picked 45% of growth on internal tourism. Marching Casamance now and other places. Now Tambacounda and others are picking up. It's just internally. But did you realize the diaspora, African diaspora, picking up on this? Senegalese cuisines are going up. Everything is going up. This is what happens if you have responsible government. These are all the things that our politicians should be looking at and advocating and engaging these communities and explain how they're going to do it. Or 10 point, how to call it, 5-point, 15-point manifestos and other. But how do you translate this and talk to people? Thank you very much, guys. It's been a long one. I just wanted to brief, but inshallah, I'll try by all means tomorrow and create next week to create time to look at this issue broadly. But again, we will do that on inshallah, what we call it, on Askan Radio with Alaji Salu in Wolof. We'll do an extensive 2-hour program on discussing these our nationhood, the risk we face it now, the continuity of Barrow's government, and the likeness of the country collapsing. And when we do that, we are going to look at the economic strategy of Senegal. There are many ways we lose our sovereignty. They are not going to force it on us. They're going to progress, and eventually we will be swallowed. If we allowed Barrow and a government like this, be the central bank government, just been worse than what we have in Jammeh's time. I cannot just believe it. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good evening.